he has this relationship with Sean O'Connell, who's this famous war and nature photographer who's just known for being his own person, and he doesn't have a cell phone, and he still shoots on film, and he goes to where the conflict is, and he and Walter have a real respect for each other, even though they've never met. They've talked on the phone, and Walter's always taken care of his pictures. And so when Sean hears that the magazine is closing down, he sends Walter a gift, this wallet, and he also sends this roll of film where he says this one negative, number 25, is, I think, the quintessence of life. And he thinks it should be the last cover of the magazine. So Walter gets the film and he can't find the negative. It's the one missing negative. And, of course, he's sort of flipping out over that. And that's what the story sort of hinges on. He has to go and try to figure out where Sean is so he can help him find the negative. The script was so interesting and emotional when I read it, and not what I expected it to be. And that's what that was like the main thing that I connected with. Was I felt like it was one of those movies that you couldn't quite categorize in terms of if it's a comedy or a drama or adventure story, or is it realistic or hyper real, and but it had this core to it, the character that I felt was to me felt like a very real character, and it felt to me like something that I could connect to, as an actor too, and as a person, just what Walter goes through, but it all came from Steve Conrad's script, which I just thought was really, really special. You start to learn through trial and error what works and how it's never really that economical a process in terms of, you just have to, as an actor, give yourself a lot of leeway because you don't have anybody there watching you as a director. So I find like you have to sort of take more chances and sort of bracket things and try things one way or the other way, and try to think ahead of what you're going to want when you're editing, and then just, kind of look to the other actors longingly for help. Or look around, people on the set, and like, did you think that was good? Which is dangerous. But sometimes, it's kind of it can be a little lonely because ultimately you have to just make the choice whether or not you're going to move on to the next shot or the next scene, and you sort of have to have some sense of it for yourself. But once you get into the rhythm of doing it, I think it's a really collaborative process with everybody, because you're working with the cinematographer and the other actors and the crew, and everybody sort of gets into the spirit of it because it's a little different. A lot of times I think we find ourselves living our lives thinking about the next thing, or thinking about something that's, bothering us, or problems that we have to deal with, and lose touch with actually experiencing what's happening right in the moment. Either, looking forward to things that you want to happen, or regretting things that have happened. And that idea of being in the moment and experiencing what's happening right now is actually a really challenging thing, I think, for most people. So I think somewhere inside everybody sort of connects with that. And when you read the story, I think that's what viscerally just, everybody can connect with that idea of like being present, talking to somebody, but having this crazy, imagination going on in your head of like what you really want to be doing to that person, or where you'd rather be in that moment. And I could connect with that. I felt Walter is a guy who, even though he's really reserved and not outgoing in his interactions at work or in the world, he still has a really good sense of humor, and there's a lot inside of there. And I think he really appreciates that he can see in Cheryl from the little interactions he sees by the, where they get coffee, the little coffee break place at work. He has a sense of who she is. And so casting her, I felt it was really important to get somebody who the audience could feel that with too. And Kristen Wiig is just, I think one of those people who's so relatable in that way, and so as an actress she's so real and naturally funny, as we all know. But I thought it was an interesting casting choice because it's the type of role that I don't think people have seen her do necessarily, where she's not doing this sort of broad, crazy comedy, but her personality is so likable and so warm, and that sense of humor is so attractive. I thought she would be really great for Cheryl. He's seeing her in his head react to him the way he wants her to be with him, or he imagines her being with him, and but he doesn't really know her. And so for her, it was, just having to play these scenes like with Arctic Mitty, where, he's this sort of dashing Latin lover poet guy, and she's like super into him. Or then like when Walter's imagining the Benjamin Buttons fantasy where he sees them growing old together. All that stuff that Kristen just is really great at, just being, she just knows how to play those attitudes or do those kinds of characters. Sean had to be this sort of iconic figure that represented, in my mind, integrity and creative integrity, and a guy that, again, Walter you could connect with as an audience when Walter meets him when you haven't seen him the whole movie. And so Sean Penn, for me, was really a first choice because Sean, I think, just sort of embodies all that in life, and he also has a really great sense of humor too, which I think doesn't get showcased as often in his film work.